Salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight. I'm Brennan Lepore. In our leading stories, good federal state government's ties ensure rakyat's well-being. Defaulters in EPF-supported loan scheme may be blacklisted. The federal government always strives to build a good rapport with the opposition-led state governments to ensure that the welfare and well-being of the people are always being put first in line with the Madani concept. Prime Minister Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim said this was proved when the federal government continues to prioritise any urgent needs or requests made by the state governments, regardless of political differences. Dato Sri Anwar said despite the narrative that he did not provide fair allocations to the states, the fact is that the allocations for the 4 PN-led states were still increased in the 2023 budget. He also gave an example that the federal government has agreed to intensify the flood mitigation project in Sungai Golok, Kelantan, following the rampant flood woes in the state.
Tambah projek besar di Sungai Golok kerana masalah banjir dia serius. Masalah banjir di Kelantan lebih berat daripada masalah banjir di Matampau. Jadi walaupun kita boleh bantu sedikit di sini, kita kena bagi keutamaan walaupun kerajaan negeri itu berbeza parti. Ini kenyataannya.
Commenting further, Dato Sri Anwar said that the good relationship with state governments would also be reflected in his visit to Terengganu tomorrow. Earlier, Dato Sri Anwar launched the Masjid Mengkuang TT project, in which he announced the 5.4 million ringgit allocation for its construction. Besides the allocation from the federal government, the state government also approved a 1.1 million ringgit towards the construction of the mosque, while another 2.5 million ringgit has been raised by the mosque community.
Dewan Waman Kuantiti ini dia tak minta semua peruntukan daripada kerajaan negeri atau kerajaan persekutuan. Dia ambil langkah sendiri. Jadi bila bincang dengan pegawai di ICU dan juga Kementerian Kewangan, mereka beri suatu perhatian bahawa masyarakat dan Qaryah Mengkuang Titi ini di antara yang sangat proaktif. Dia ambil ikhtiar daripada awal. Kutip 2.5 juta jaminan dia. Ya. Ini hebat ni nampaknya.
The mosque, which will be built on a 3.2-acre land belonging to the Pulau Pinang Islamic Religious Council, will be able to accommodate 1,500 congregants at any one time. The Premier said the construction of the project will begin as soon as possible. Dato Sri Anwar is also expected to announce another piece of good news ahead of Aidilfitri this year. He reiterated this today, stressing of an announcement next Tuesday.
Untuk mengawal dan meningkatkan ekonomi negara. Dan orang-orang itu adalah kita mulakan dengan penjawatan awam. Itu saja berita baik yang saya nak sampaikan. Ada beberapa lain yang pengumuman saya akan lakukan pada hari Selasa. Yang disebut sedikit berita baik tambahan. Itu hari Selasa.
He said this at a civil servant gathering held in Pematang Pau today. Limited referral resources as well as lack of expertise in traditional and complementary medicine, TCM, are among the main challenges identified as to why the field has not been firmly established in Malaysia. Health Minister Dr. Zaliha Mustafa said besides this, the harmonization of clinical research methodology with the principles and theories of traditional medicine was also identified as one of the main challenges. Following this, Dr. Zaliha said that with the launch of the book's framework on traditional and complementary medicine research in Malaysia and guidelines for herbal medicine research today, the quantity and quality of research in the field can be increased.
Director General of Health, Research and Technical Support, Minister of Health Malaysia, Dr. Rabindra Abeyasinghe, WHO representative to Malaysia, Brunei Darussalam and Singapore, our distinguished guests and everyone, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
She said this at the launch of the books at the National Institute of Health today. Dr. Zaleha said that approved herbal products have also been accepted by the regulatory authorities not only in Malaysia but also internationally.
Of traditionals and modern medicine.
Communications and Digital Minister Fahmi Fadzil will announce good news for prepaid plan users on Monday. He said the ministry is currently discussing the matter with several major telecommunication companies in the country to reach an agreement.
Pada waktu ini saya belum lagi bersedia untuk membuat apa-apa pengumuman, tapi harapan saya dalam masa yang singkat beberapa perkara akan dapat dipersetujui dan insya-Allah saya harap akan ada berita baik terutama untuk pengguna prepaid. Ya, jadi tunggu sikit lagi.
Bila kita akan tahu dalam 2-3 hari atau
dalam 2-3 hari insya-Allah.
Regarding the 5G network implementation policy by Digital Nasional Berhad DNB, it will be presented to the Cabinet next week. Fahmi said he had a meeting with Prime Minister Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim on Tuesday, and there were several matters that the Prime Minister had asked to be examined. The Communications and Digital Ministry, KKD, will continue to look after the welfare of the media people in the country. As the minister responsible, Fahmi said he would help to solve any problems faced by the media practitioners, including former media workers.
Harapan saya kebajikan bagi rakan-rakan media sentiasa terbela dan insya-Allah saya akan cuba bertemu dengan komuniti 800 pekerja yang diberhentikan dari utusan Malaysia dulu untuk faham keadaan mereka serta apa yang boleh dibantu.
The minister was met after presenting donations contributed by various parties to former Utusan Melayu, Berhad journalist Muhammad Basir Abu Bakar, who has heart problems, in conjunction with the inaugural Kasih at Hawana 2023 program. Fahmi said the ministry will provide free internet for 3 years to Muhammad Basir's family. Kasih at Hawana's corporate social responsibility CSR program is held to cater to media members who need help, in addition to strengthening brotherhood among media practitioners in the country. And still ahead, Courts Malaysia offering furniture at Rahmah prices. Stay with us. But first, borrowers of the Employees Provident Fund EPF Account 2 Support Facility or FSA2 program are at risk of being blacklisted if they fail to repay the financing received from the program in the required payment period. Deputy Finance Minister Datuk Sri Ahmad Mazlan stressed that the risk of using this facility is that their names will be blacklisted if they fail to repay the loans.
Walaupun demikian, dia masih lagi menikmati dividen dalam akaun KWSP-nya itu sekitar 5 ke 6% setiap tahun yang diumum. Tetapi apabila katalah 5 tahun dia bayar, 5 tahun kedua dia default tak bayar, bank tidak boleh mengambil daripada KWSP-nya sehingga umurnya 50 tahun. Itu ya. Jadi oleh sebab itu ia bukanlah satu cagaran.
EPF Account 2 recently became a hot topic after Prime Minister and Finance Minister Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim said last month that the government is considering using EPF savings as collateral for emergency loans. This was after the opposition repeatedly called for more EPF withdrawals to be allowed. Last week, the EPF announced that its eligible members who are 40 years old and above can apply for personal financing from banking institutions by using their Account 2 balance as support for their loans. Amid various reactions from the public, the EPF clarified last week that FSA2 is targeted at those who have income. And on another note, Dr. Sri Ahmad Mazlan is cautiously optimistic about the performance of the domestic property market in 2023. He, however, said the property market performance is expected to grow in line with the moderately lower economic growth given the unpredictable external environment. He cited that more than 54,000 units of new launches were registered last year, more than the 43,860 units in 2021, but still lower than pre-pandemic levels. Announcing the country's property market performance in 2022, he said, sales performance was moderate at 36%.
Antara RM500,000 ke RM1,000,000 ini yang paling banyak yang tidak terjual. Ada 9,323 unit dengan nilai 6.29 bilion atau 33.6%, dan sejuta ke atas ada 3,786 unit nilai 7.5 bilion, itu 13.6%.
The data was released by the National Property Information Centre under the Ministry of Finance's Valuation and Property Services Department. And Courts Malaysia is the first furniture store to support the Payung Rahmah initiative by offering electronic goods and furniture at Rahmah prices. Under the initiative, customers making purchases over RM2,000 can buy a second item, such as a blender, for only RM5. Certain furniture items and electrical appliances can also be purchased at a discount of up to 50%. Now, according to Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Minister Dato Sri Salahuddin Ayub, the promotion that was scheduled to end on 21st April has been extended until 30th April to celebrate customers, especially ahead of Hari Raya Aidilfitri. The minister expressed hope that more electrical goods and furniture companies will join the ministry in the initiative to ease the people's burden. Earlier, he visited several stalls around the capital early this morning to check on the sale of wet goods, especially fish, meat and vegetables, ahead of Aidilfitri, adding he found that all traders complied with the set prices. Private sector is encouraged to invest in setting up port reception facilities, PRF, at port areas in the country. This is because such facilities would help protect the environment while creating business opportunities. Transport Minister Anthony Loke said PRF operators can charge the ships that dump their waste fuel, adding that the waste can subsequently be processed for other users. He pointed out without this facility, the port industry will miss out on the opportunity as more ships will choose to berth in Singapore, which has such facilities.
Sebab apabila tiada fasiliti seperti ini, seperti yang saya kata, kalau kapal membuang sisa mereka di pelabuhan kita, dia akan diangkut oleh lori untuk dibawa keluar. Jadi dalam perjalanan keluar, sama ada mereka bawa ke fasiliti untuk diproses atau mereka buang saja dalam ladang kelapa sawit ataupun di sungai-sungai, sudah tentu banyak kes seperti pencemaran pernah berlaku di negara kita. Jadi dengan adanya fasiliti seperti ini, dia dapat mengurangkan risiko pencemaran di luar.
Looks at this at the groundbreaking ceremony of the Port Klang PRF. The Port Klang PRF at Westport will be developed by KA Petra Group via its subsidiary, Port Klang Port Reception Facility Sendirian Berhad, at around RM60 million. The facility is set to commence operations within 12 months from now and will process waste fuel from ships docking at Westport, becoming the first of such facility in Malaysia within the premises of a port. The Ministry of Defence will conduct a detailed internal investigation into the death of a soldier while on duty at the Belum Forest Reserve near Gerik on Wednesday. Its Deputy Minister Adli Zahari said the ministry will inform the public on the results of the investigation into the death of Corporal Muhammad Nazri Muhammad Nasib, 33, from the 25th Battalion of the Royal Belay Regiment at Sri Bentong Camp, Pahang.
Kita akan buat siasatan dalaman apa yang berlaku, walaupun kalau kita tengok dari segi bedah siasatnya, laporan kesihatan tu sudah dikeluarkan kerana kecederaan dan seumpamanya, tapi secara keseluruhannya kita akan buat siasatan di peringkat dalaman dan kita akan maklumkan kepada semua pihak, termasuk yang saya yakin ahli keluarga pun mahu tahu kenapa perkara itu berlaku.
He said this when met by reporters after visiting the residence of a Royal Malaysian Navy TLDM veteran, Mat Nawawi Mat Kasim, 67, who suffered a brain injury as a result of a road accident last year. Yesterday, Perak Police Chief Dr. Sri Muhammad Yusri Hassan Basri announced that the results of a post-mortem conducted on Muhammad Nazri found that the cause of death was head injury consistent with fall. His body was found on Wednesday by a search and rescue operation team following a report of his disappearance in the interior of the Belum Forest Reserve since 7th of April, while on duty in the area. Police have arrested a 34-year-old man suspected of involvement in a fire that damaged 13 motorcycles and 4 electric scooters outside the Suria KLCC shopping centre yesterday. Dang Wangi District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Nur Delhan Yahaya said the man was picked up a few hours after the fire broke out at 4:03 p.m. yesterday. In a statement today, he said the man will be remanded for 6 days until 19 April. The motive and cause of the incident are still under investigation. The case is investigated under Section 435 of the Penal Code for mischief by fire, which is punishable with a maximum jail sentence of 14 years and a fine. ACP Nur Delhan said police have received a total of 10 reports from the individuals affected by yesterday's fire. A spokesman for the Kuala Lumpur Fire and Rescue Department Operations Centre said in a statement yesterday that 9 motorcycles and 4 electric scooters were completely burnt by the fire, while the remaining 4 motorcycles were partially damaged. A swimming coach pleaded guilty at 2 sessions courts in Malacca to 32 counts of sexual assault and rape against his teenage stepdaughter, who is now 16 years old. Now, the pleas of the accused were recorded in 2 separate courts today, presided by Judge Muhammad Sabri Ismail and Judge Dama Fikri Abu Adam, respectively. The accused had pleaded guilty to 12 counts of rape, where the charges were framed under Section 376, subsection 2, and Section 376, subsection 1 of the Penal Code. He also pleaded guilty to 12 counts of sexual assaults under Section 14, subsection A of the Sexual Offences Against Children Act 2017. The accused also pleaded guilty to 8 charges of inserting objects into the victim's private parts under Section 377CA of the Penal Code. All the offences were committed between January 2020 to 14 March 2023 at a house in Taman Maju, Jasin. Both courts have fixed 15 May for sentencing, and no bail was granted to the accused. Foreign segment, Australian cyclone unleashes record-breaking winds. Stay with us. But first, North Korea said it had tested a new solid-fuel intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM, to radically promote its nuclear counterattack capability. Leader Kim Jong-un warned it would make enemies experience a clearer security crisis and constantly strike extreme uneasiness into them by taking offensive counter-actions. North Korea has criticized recent U.S.-South Korean joint military exercises as escalating tensions and has stepped up weapon tests in the past months. South Korea's defense ministry said North Korea was still developing the weapon and that it needed more time and effort to master the technology, indicating that Pyongyang might carry out more tests. Korean Central News Agency said the development of the new type ICBM Hwasong-po 18 will extensively reform the strategic deterrence components of the North Korea and bring about a change in the practicality of its offensive military strategy. Analysts said it is the North's first use of solid propellants in an intermediate range of intercontinental ballistic missile. Developing a solid fuel ICBM has long been seen as a key goal for North Korea, as it could help the North deploy missiles faster during a war. A severe tropical cyclone lashed northwestern Australia today, bringing the strongest winds the country has ever recorded. But officials said towns and cities appear to have escaped the worst of the storm. Tropical cyclone Ilsa made landfall in the early hours as a Category 5 storm, the strongest on the scale, near the sparsely populated town of Pardu, about 19 hours' drive northeast of Perth. The Bureau of Meteorology's Todd Smith said the cyclone brought a wind gust of 289 kilometers per hour, believed to be the strongest on record in Australia. Ilsa also packed an Australian record for the strongest sustained wind speeds over a 10-minute period, averaging 218 kilometers per hour. Authorities said for the region's largest towns and settlements, it was a narrow escape and they appear to have escaped major damage. The cyclone has since been downgraded to a Category 2, but authorities remain wary as it barrels inland towards several remote Aboriginal communities and a major gold mine. The Department of Fire and Emergency Services issued a new series of red alerts as the storm swerved inland in the afternoon, ordering people to stay indoors until given the all-clear. The release and swap of nearly 900 detainees by the two sides in Yemen's conflict began today, a significant confidence-building measure amid peace talks between Saudi envoys and the Houthi group. The first two simultaneous exchange flights landed in the government city of Aden, carrying 35 people, and in the Houthi-held capital Sana'a, carrying 125 around midday on Friday. The International Committee of the Red Cross, which is managing the process, said its planes will be used to carry the released detainees between 6 cities in Yemen and Saudi Arabia over the coming days. UN Yemen envoy Hans Grunberg said the release operation comes at a time of hope for Yemen as a reminder that constructive dialogue and mutual compromises are powerful tools capable of achieving great outcomes. Warring parties agreed at negotiations in Switzerland last month to free 887 detainees and to meet again in May to discuss further releases. Negotiators had hoped for an all-for-all deal involving all remaining detainees during the 10 days of talks held near the Swiss capital, Bern. The talks were the latest in a series of meetings that led to releases of prisoners in 2022 and 2020 under a UN-mediated deal known as the Stockholm Agreement. And in sports, fencing squad confident of springing surprise in Cambodia. Stay with us. The national fencing squad are hoping to spring a surprise by winning a gold medal at the 2023 Southeast Asian SEA Games in Cambodia next month. National coach Yu Peng Kian feels that Malaysia has the potential of ending the almost 12-year wait for a gold medal, singling out seniors Hans Yung, who will compete in the foil, and Joshua Koh in the EP event as those with better chances.
Walaupun kita ada atlet yang baru, tapi saya yakin satu pengalaman yang bagus untuk dia. Tapi bukan untuk SEA Games ni saja, tapi next SEA Games dengan tunggu nanti Malaysia punya SEA Games.
He also expressed confidence that the Sabre team, even though young, can do their best, adding that he always shares his knowledge and experience with them as he wants them to achieve success. The 14-member strong national team will compete in the men's and women's individual foil events, men's team foil event, men's individual and team EP events, men's team sabre events, and women's individual sabre event at the Games. Meanwhile, national golf coach Shahrul Erwin Samsudin hoped that all Malaysian golfers will be able to be in top form throughout the SEA Games as they try to meet the target of 1 gold and 1 silver in Cambodia. According to Shahrul Erwin, the Malaysian Golf Association has only selected 7 best players in Malaysia to participate in this year's edition of the SEA Games.
Walau bagaimanapun, barisan pemain kali ini dengan program latihan dengan jurulatih masing-masing dan juga pendahan pertandingan yang diberikan oleh Persatuan Golf Malaysia, saya percaya mereka semua bersedia bermain dengan penuh keyakinan.
During last year's SEA Games in Hanoi, the national golf squad managed to bring home 2 gold medals as well as 1 silver and 1 bronze medal. And in European football, Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag tried to stay positive about the injuries suffered by defender Lisandro Martinez during the 2-2 Europa League draw with Sevilla. There was speculation Martinez had suffered a serious Achilles injury, which would end his season. According to Ten Hag, Martinez's injury is not an Achilles, but it does not look that great, and they will have to wait for the right diagnosis by the medical staff. Martinez joined a list of injured players, including striker Marcus Rashford, defender Luke Shaw, and Martinez's fellow centre-back Rafael Varane, who had to be replaced at half-time against Sevilla. Ten Hag also commented on his players' condition for United's Premier League game at Nottingham Forest this coming Sunday.
Of course, and we competing 3 competitions, and then you need a squad. And so if Licha, Martinez, Rafa Varane, when they are not available on Sunday, then others have to do it. And we have seen, I think on Saturday, Harry Maguire played a good game.
During the game against Sevilla, United were leading 2-0 late in the game at Old Trafford, but had to settle for a 2-2 draw after conceding 2 own goals. United became only the second English side to score 2 own goals in a single match in a major European competition. Chelsea were the first in 2019 against Ten Hag's Ajax Amsterdam. And in Germany, Bayern Munich's Sadio Mane will not be part of the squad for Saturday's Bundesliga game against Hoffenheim and has been fined over a row he had with teammate Leroy Sané. Senegal international Mane clashed with Sané at the end of their 3-0 loss at Manchester City in the Champions League quarter-final first leg on Tuesday. A statement by the club reads that Mane will not be included in the FC Bayern squad for this Saturday's home match against Hoffenheim due to his misconduct after Bayern's Champions League match at Manchester City. It added that Mane will also be given a fine. Bayern, who lead the Bundesliga standings with a 2-point advantage over Borussia Dortmund, did not provide any details on the misconduct or the size of the fine. According to several German media, Sané had suffered a cut lip in the altercation, and the two, who were also seen arguing on the pitch late in the game, had to be separated by teammates. Mane, a 2-time African Footballer of the Year who joined Bayern last year, had complained about the way Germany winger Sané spoke to him after the defeat at the Etihad Stadium. Bayern faced City in the return leg on Wednesday. And that concludes this evening's Malaysia Tonight. In our top story, good federal state government's ties ensure rakyat's well-being. Join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon for the updates at noon on TV2. Till then, it's lights out. I'm Brendan Paul. Have a fantastic weekend.